Welcome back to Iron Rage. I'm your host, Dave Palumbo, here with John Romano. It's the show where we get to release our pent-up frustrations with life. And I know you guys love to hear it. Today's topic is going to be about negativity in the bodybuilding industry. How negativity seems to be more captivating to people than actually results of shows, who's turning pro, what the bodybuilders are eating, and how they're training. Now, John, I'm going to go to you first on this. You know, why do you think it is that our industry is just so obsessed with gossip, with who's dying, who's losing kidneys, who's passing out backstage? Way more obsessed with that than what is actually happening in the sport of bodybuilding. It's like reversed from what it was years ago.
It's because the sport is boring. I mean, that's just boring. There's no two ways about it. I mean, you sit in the audience, watch a bunch of guys walk around in their boulder holders and, hitting some shots. And that's the extent of the sport. There's no conflict. There's no competition. At least in the old days, in the 90s, you had, if you had Flex and Cormier and Lavroni and on stage, they were elbowing each other out of the way. And, that was, some kind of, technique to competing on stage. That's relatively gone today. Everybody's like too gentlemanly or politically correct. And there's nothing going on. So, you got somebody like Sean Ray who builds up, so much asshole karma that, people want to, see him get punched in the mouth. And then, he goes off and does something stupid and disses his own teammate like Dallas McCarver. McCarver leaves MD. And that's interesting because Sean Ray's an asshole and everybody doesn't like him. And so when he acts like an asshole and his asshole actions have consequences, that's what you get. You get somebody interesting. Cedric winning a show, well, that's great, but everybody wins a show when the show is on. It's you have a show, you're gonna have a winner. It's gonna be boring. Yeah. So the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, who's killing who's dying, who's drugged out, who's on rehab, who fell out of rehab, that's the shit that's interesting because it's substance. Competitive bodybuilding today, is boring.
Speaking of which, I don't mean to sidetrack this topic of Iron Rage, but I've noticed that Richard Rodriguez, the guy who got busted with the wellness nutrition thing, whatever it was, the hormone clinic that he was running down there in Florida, acting as his own doctor. I noticed he's been putting out these videos, or at least backing these videos by this guy by the name of Johnny Bravo, who's been basically trying to out the whole industry, all the people that are using, or all the customers that were with wellness are now being put out there. What do you think is behind, where do you see this, where is it coming from? Why is this guy Richard Rodriguez looking to out the whole industry now?
I don't know. I thought, I knew the guy, but I obviously didn't. I don't know. I think he's in the position of being the last man standing. The 9 other people that got arrested with him are going to obviously roll on him. No one's going to do time for him. So he wants to try to make his case. And if his case is, hey, man, it's not just me, it's everybody else too, what do you got to come down on me for? I mean, that's maybe the way he's looking at it. I don't know. The guy did run through $10 million. It's a lot of money. I'm sure, there's a greater interest in where that money is and where it went and who's got it now than any amount of guys buying juice. I think that's kind of a self-deprecating policy. We all know everybody does drugs in this industry. What is this? You're going to unmask some amazing truth by exposing the people on his list? Just go to any freaking show. Every guy on stage is on juice. What the hell? You got to weed through this guy's card catalog? It's fucking stupid.
I agree with you. Once again, this is another super sensationalistic story that seems to have a grip on the industry because we love drama. It's like we love the reality aspect of our industry more so than the competition. Now, when I competed, I was obsessed with going to shows, studying physiques, seeing how these guys presented themselves, finding out what they were eating, what they were taking, supplement-wise, drug-wise. I wanted to know everything. I was obsessed with it, and as a competitor, you should be, because you want to be a student of the sport. So, I mean, we put out a lot of high quality, educational type things on here between my Ask Dave segment, a lot of the segments you and I do. Chris and I do a lot of stuff on the radio. And so there's a lot of education there, but I see, if you look at the site, the hits on the YouTube channel, and by the way, if you guys have not subscribed to our Explosive YouTube channel, do so right now. But if you look at the hits, the controversial videos have way, way more hits. That Dallas McCarver blockbuster where he quit MD, I mean, that's over 100,000 views now.
Yep. And so it should be. That's the way it should. Look, you're driving down the street, you pass by a beautiful patch of flowers. What do? You keep going. You're talking on your phone. You don't even notice them. Same street, same spot, 5 cars piled up, blood splattered all over the trees. What are you going to do? You're going to throw the phone out the window. You're going to slam on the brakes and try to identify body parts. So that's what people do. That's so. Who cares? I mean, it's interesting because it's controversial, because it's out of the norm, and because that's what we wanted to hear. We didn't want Dallas McCarver to cower in the corner and take Sean Ray's browbeating. We wanted him to stand up and do exactly what he did. And that is what we wanted. And so when you give the audience what you want, you get a lot of hits. And proof positive is our hit count.
So what basically you're saying now is, and this, you tell me if I'm speaking truthfully here, the entertainment aspect of our sport might be, dare I say, more important at feeding new people coming into the sport than the actual sport of posing on stages.
Why you just went to WrestleMania. Why is wrestling so popular? Why is that $1 billion industry? Why? Because half-naked guys hug each other and throw each other around? Or because they break into each other's houses with sledgehammers and try to kill each other? Balance it out, okay? So if we had some of that in bodybuilding, imagine Sean Ray creeping around in the grass outside of Dallas McCarver's house, and 6 homies roll up with AKs and blow him away, okay? That would be great, I would watch that 50 times, but watching somebody pose on stage and get a trophy, how many millions of times have we seen that? It's like it's not even captivating like the lobster, like the crab guys, the deadliest catch. They throw the thing in the water, they pull it up with crabs in it. How fucking boring is that? But the people are glued to the screen. They want to see it every day. What's in the pot? What's in the pot? It's throw the pot in, pull it up. Throw it in, pull it up. It's like lifting weights. Put it down, pick it up. Put it down, pick it up. But for some reason, the crabs in the pot got more interest than the fucking bodybuilder on the stage. It's human nature. Who can explain it? Yeah. So back to your point. Yeah, when somebody does something out of that box, out of the norm, and it's controversial or interesting, man, you're going to get everybody looking at that. Because other than that, what do we have? What is the excitement element? Using wrestling as a great example, what is the element in bodybuilding that either endears you to the bodybuilders, makes you choose a side, makes you root for somebody, or at least gives you some insight into what's going on competitively, trying to fight dirty and who's trying to get over on somebody else, psych each other out. At least in Arnold's day, you had him psyching out Louis. You had some, controversy behind the scenes. Today, you've got nothing. This is the most whitewashed, antiseptic, sterile environment I could ever even imagine. And as soon as somebody does something to break that, like smack the MC, we go haywire crazy. It's the most awful thing in the fucking world.
So what you're basically saying is, Triple H jumping off the top rope at WrestleMania is kind of equivalent in our industry to Boston Lloyd taking an injection in his eyeball.
Which he would probably do.
Yes, he would. If he heard it would make him bigger, he would do it. Definitely.
Oh, if he heard he was going to get 20 grand for it, I'm sure he'd do both eyeballs at the same time.
Dr. Tony Huge would probably do it too. He'd probably test it out just to see if it worked. No,
that's what we need. We need some.
I think I'm losing John here.
Probably.
I lost you there for a second, John.
Well, Triple H should be employed by the IFBB, and
right. We should. Well, you I think years ago had said that you had a theory to save women's bodybuilding. You said to make it a Broadway show. I remember.
Right. Exactly. Hold it on Broadway and off Broadway theater. Make it theatrical. Are you kidding? That could have been blockbuster, and women would be happy as hell right now. Instead, they're fighting for a fucking Jeep.
Can you imagine if you would have produced that thing, a John Romano production? It would have been like Cats or something like that, except with women bodybuilders.
Our friend Denise Messino did a vampire movie, and they never released it. And I guess it was way too over the top. I don't know, but that would have been, you want to have like a theme of activity going on in a Miss Olympia contest off Broadway, choreographed by some, famous New York, theater producer. It would be awesome. Yeah. It would be incredible. It would sell out every night, but and they'd have to do it more than one night. That's the thing. You'd have to do it like every day.
Who could they like hire to like direct that piece? To be the director of that Broadway show, because Blackman could direct maybe like the male version of that, but who would do the female version of that?
It's like it would come out looking like Birdcage.
Yeah. Would Bill Dobbins be like the director of this one?
Ooh, John Waters and Bill Dobbins, and a lot of marijuana. I think that would be amazing.
All right. Well,
is it hairspray?
Yeah. Well, thank you for giving me your strong opinion, because you convinced me, because I kind of was a little negative on the whole thing. I was like, I don't know if we're turning into like a gossip, like tabloid type of reporting. But you're right. I mean, entertainment is important, and I guess the drama behind the stage is really what we want to know about. What goes on in real life behind getting up on stage and posing on that one day with the perfect tan, with the perfect oil, shaved down with no body fat, because that's one day. It's a fleeting one day out of the year. The rest of the year, we want to know who's screwing over who's stabbing who in the back, who's bad-mouthing who, who's taking the most drugs, who's taking the least drugs, who's pretending that they're not taking drugs, but they really are. We just love that, and we thrive on that, and that's what makes our industry exciting. If you guys haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure you do below. Like the video. John, thank you. That'll take us to the end of another episode of Iron Rage, the show where we release our pent-up frustrations. I'm Dave Palumbo. We'll see you next time.